Brand nerds, brand nerds, brand nerds. Oh, we got a different podcast for you today in the world of brands, beats, and bytes. Larry, it's a What's Poppin' edition.
Don't you
What's
love the What's
Poppin'?
Poppin'? I love the
I,
What's Poppin'.
I really enjoy our What's Poppin'. And what's Poppin' editions do for us, Larry, is it allows us to stay true to the reason why we are doing these podcasts to begin with and why we've been doing it for 7 years. And that is to build better marketers who build better marketing. That's why we do these things. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with a sports show, brand nerds, but it's called PTI, Pardon the Interruption. We're just going to shout out PTI, Wilbon, and Kornheiser. These are the co-hosts. But from time to time, when either of these gentlemen is out, usually it's Kornheiser who's out and Wilbon is in, they'll have a go-to person that is always like right here. It's like tapping the right arm for the pitcher. Come on in here. And it's fill in Frank. Okay, Frank Isola. Frank Isola, New York media. You guys will know Frank Isola. He's always there with Wilbon, and you don't even miss Kornheiser. You're like, these guys are so good. Brand nerds, we have that today. We have actually the unofficial third co-host of Brands, Beats, and Bytes. I cannot wait to hear from him. That said, brand nerds, you're familiar with the phrase performance marketing. It's a really big deal, has been a big deal for many, many moons now. But there's a new game in town that not many of us really understand or know about. Performance marketing has become the golden child of our marketing efforts in gobbling up much like Pac-Man and Pac-Woman of media budgets because it gets marketers data that's closer to the point of purchase. It's trackable. This is what makes it so sexy. Well, brand nerds, the new game in town is retail and commerce media networks. And that is what we're going to talk about here today. And by the way, brand nerds, this is a companion podcast. Jack Myers. Hopefully you've heard Jack Myers. He was our first drop of the year, 2026. If you've not heard it, go check out Jack Myers. This is a companion piece to Jack Myers because the guest that we have today is launching a podcast with Jack Myers, and you all should go check that out. Larry, who do we have in the building with us today? Who is our fill-in Frank? Who is it?
Well, DC, when it comes to anything media related, like you said, our first call is to our great friend Tim Spengler, and he's much better than Phil and Frank because he's with us. So we're not even filling in. He's with us, and he makes the two of us actually a whole lot better. So welcome, Tim.
Greetings, fellas. It's great, as always, to be with you.
Yes. Okay, so for you avid brand nerds, Tim is someone you should recognize since, as DC alluded to, he's been a guest on Brands, Beats, and Bytes more than anyone else. The reason Tim is our first call with media-related issues is simple. He is one of the most respected and accomplished C-suite media execs out there. Currently, Tim is co-founder and managing partner of Scale Team Advisory, a consulting firm where they partner with media, entertainment, sports, and related tech businesses to support their growth objectives. Before STA, Tim led the very successful media agency Initiative and also was CEO of Magda Global, literally heading up media buying for Interpublic around the world. As DC said, we see this as a companion piece to our first podcast of 2026 with Jack Myers. Since, as we mentioned last week, Tim and Jack have started a podcast called Lead Human, which debuts any day now in January of 2026. Tim, before we get into what's poppin' subject of today, would you like to tell the brand nerds more about Lead Human and why the brand nerds really need to check it out?
Sure, love to. Thank you. And I think it's a topic, Larry, you can totally relate to since, with your days leading teams. DC, I'm not sure quite as much because in the 90s, he was running around yelling at everybody to obey. That's not a really lead human kind of MO, but
True,
all,
true.
no. And I think everyone knows that is a Hall of Fame tagline and brand pivot in the marketing annals led by
Thank you.
you. So it's with much respect that I
Thank you. Thank
tease
you.
you in that way, with that one word being it all. But yeah, seriously, so it's funny, the genesis of Jack Myers and I getting together to create Lead Human was based on the topic that we're going to talk about today, retail media, commerce media. Jack had, as usual, written a great piece that I read. And given what the three of us were working on, I wanted to be smarter. And so I said, hey, Jack, can we grab lunch? We had lunch, had a great time. I've known Jack for 40 years. And on the train ride home, I had taken a selfie and I put it out on LinkedIn literally on a Friday. And we had like 15,000 people look at it over the weekend. And I said, hey, Jack, they like us as a pairing, I guess. And he said, I got an idea. I'm going to call you. And the next thing he calls me and says, I've been doing this podcast called, Profiles in Leadership. I want to pivot it and make it more about today's empathy and leading in this world of machines and data and dashboards. And it was a topic that was near and dear to my heart as well. And so we've been off and running to create it. It's going to run on the Acast Creator Network. So we're going to get some nice marketing and distribution. It starts third week of January. And last thing I'll say is we've had some fun guests already. Um, Evan Shapiro, the self-proclaimed media cartographer, he's the one, I think it's the best visual in the last 5 years at least, maybe more, where he took the media, all the media companies and put them in like a satellite, like a planetary system. The size of the planet was based on the size of the market cap.
Mm.
And so you saw what really mattered in 2020, which was how big, Amazon was, how big Meta was, how big Facebook was, how big Apple was. Forget these legacy media companies that they were moons around the planets of these other companies.
Right.
That was 2020. 5 years later, those big companies, those tech companies, have doubled or tripled in size.
Right.
Mm.
And the traditional companies are flat to down.
Right.
Mm.
The traditional companies, two of which had fired Evan for prognosticating the future in a way they didn't want to hear. So he very publicly talks about was shown the door. Anyway, so that's a very fun one. Our second one is probably the leading media agency exec today. Dave Penske leads Publicis Media. He has 65,000 people that report to him around the world. As I think about the greatest media leaders since media spun out of the creative agency. So it was full service. You think about the Mad Men era, that was full service media sitting inside creative. 1995, the media spun out, created its own separate companies. And I think he's probably one of the three greatest leaders since that era of advertising, the media side began. So anyway,
Wow.
two guests I'm very proud of, and that's our show.
That's awesome. I can't wait to listen to those. Those sound great, and we're thrilled for you and Jack. And we know you guys are a great duo. It's going to be awesome to hear. All right,
Hey,
so
Larry,
Brandon.
can I just say something real quick
Oh,
before
please,
you
D. Go
proceed?
ahead.
Brandon, you should also know that Tim Spengler has recommended some of the best guests that we have ever had on Brands, Beats, and Bytes. And one of them we just dropped at the end of last year. If you've not listened to it, you should go back and listen to it. Is Jim, is it Tribblecock? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Tribblecock, yeah.
Tribblecock.
Yeah.
So go check that out. So Jim, who's also known as Jim T, was the former CMO over at Dr. Pepper. It may have been Schweppes at the time. I don't know if he was there when it was Keurig Dr. Pepper, but he was lead. Oh, Keurig Dr. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you, Tim, very much for recommending guests to Brands, Beats, and Bytes. We really appreciate that.
That's what friends do, and you're quite welcome.
Yes, we do. We can't thank you enough for that, Tim. All right, Brandon. So let's get now into our What's Poppin' subject for today, which, as DC alluded to at the outset, is retail and commerce media networks. A group of us with Tim as the lead have spent some considerable time, energy, and effort on a project in this area. So we do know from what we speak here. If you don't know much or anything about it, and you are in marketing or media, You need to know about it. We plan on the three of us having a free-flowing conversation discussing retail and commerce media from the many sides of this, including brands, merchants, media, and consumers, and more. So first, before we go any further, we've got to provide you with definitions. Okay, so retail media networks, and the acronym is RMN, are advertising platforms run by retailers like Amazon, Walmart, Kroger, that let brands buy ad space on the retailer's websites, apps, and even in-store, leveraging the retailer's valuable first-party customer data, such as purchase history, browsing behavior, etc., for highly targeted ads at the point of purchase, creating new revenue for these retailers and driving sales for brands. They connect brands directly with shoppers ready to buy using data for precision marketing, both on-site sponsored products and off-site, making them a rapidly growing advertising channel. So that's the definition of what a retail media network is. So now let's take you through what a commerce media network is, also known as the acronym of CMN. It is a digital advertising platform that uses a company first-party data and like purchase history, browsing, etc., to let brands target relevant ads across multiple channels, extending beyond just retailers like Amazon to industries like travel, such as United Airlines, finance, Chase, and healthcare, creating new revenue streams by monetizing valuable audience insights to drive sales and loyalty. So let's be clear, retail media networks are part of commerce media networks. Commerce media networks are bigger. These networks, so commerce media networks, blend e-commerce, retail media, and programmatic advertising, connecting advertisers with consumers at the point of purchase and beyond, both online and offline, with closed-loop measurement for effectiveness. Tim, anything to add here as we talk about those definitions?
No, I mean, that's it. I think I'll just underscore that. So it's first-party shopper data that both sides have, whether it's a retailer or it's some other business. And then they take that audience that they now have and they sell that audience to advertisers who want to buy ads targeting anonymously those audiences, chocolate buyers, new car shoppers. I mean, we could pick 100 topics, and frequent flyers, and the ads run both on their properties, meaning on their website, on the product pages, maybe in the store, certainly in the app, and then off media when you can buy those audiences anywhere else they are, and so on social platforms,
Yeah.
In search, in anywhere they are. So it's both on their sites and on their own stuff, and then the bigger growing areas now, just those people anywhere else that they go.
Good. Thanks for highlighting that and adding that. That's key. So brand nerds, so you might be thinking, okay, great, that's nice. But what does that really mean? So brand nerds, not sure if you know this, but we're going to take you through what the dollars are behind all this. So in the United States, in 2025, the commerce media spend was $67+ billion. Yes, $67+ billion in 2025. That was nearly 15% of total US ad spend in 2025. It was the fastest growing of anything in media at 15%. So just to give you context, in the US in 2025, advertisers will spend about $50 billion on traditional TV and roughly $80+ billion if you include streaming TV. So commerce media is already nearly $70 billion line item, so bigger than linear TV on its own and quickly catching up to all TV. So that's just incredibly huge. And globally, commerce media has already overtaken TV in total ad spend. So this stuff is mammoth. And we wanted to have this conversation because that's what's popping here, brand nerds. A lot of people understand the huge value in this and are already there, but it feels like it's under the radar, guys, especially as it relates to full conversations in the full marketing arena. So hence we're having this conversation. So clearly this is a booming business and growing. And if you are involved in any part of the marketing media world, it is something, if it's not relevant for you yet, it certainly will be soon. Hence we're having this conversation. DC, what say you?
All right, I've got a question, actually, a couple questions for Tim as we get into this. We know that there are many acolytes in the marketing space, acolytes of performance marketing.
Yep.
There's always something next. Tim, my first question is, why should acolytes of performance marketing now be looking towards retail and commerce media as the next horizon? Why should they be doing that?
Well, how about this? It provides scale and precision across the full funnel.
Wow.
Is that enough of a reason?
Yeah.
That's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just to put a capper on that, you usually have to choose one. That's
that's
what
right.
Tim's really saying. Here you're getting both, right, Tim?
Well, it's four things, right? Scale and precision, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. So let's call it all five,
Yep.
right? Let's call
Yep.
it all, let's call it all five. And it is changing advertising because of that precision and the scale.
Wow.
Great. Okay. Second, Larry, anything to add to that?
No,
before
keep
my second
going.
question. All right. So, second question. Tim, you talked about 1995, the full service agencies carved out the media
Right.
part. And the reason why they did that, in part, is most of the money in marketing is in media. That's what it was in 95. That's what it is today. That's what it's going to be likely tomorrow. So that's why it was carved off, because you couldn't have some genius, executive creative director making decisions on a highly quantitative model in media that was into the billions of dollars and by now trillions of dollars. This is no disrespect to the ECDs out here
No.
or the chief creative officers. No disrespect, but just too much money and too many analytics at play. Now, connecting my question to that point about carving out these media people. For those that are in the marketing area on the client side, they're watching this retail and commerce media, and some of them, Tim, are thinking, you know what? I can take my assets, put them together, and just walk into some other brand, or there might be a company that has access to data. I can just walk into a brand and convince them, hey, you ought to be doing business with me, and bypass these media agencies. Why is that not possible, or at least
Right.
not smart?
Right. Yeah. So I think I would add to it. It got carved away from the media, from the creative, which, by the way, is still 2/3 of the power of all marketing. So let's
Oh
be
yeah, yep.
creative. Great. I'm a media guy. Creative leads. Okay. Creative leads. I spent my time in the 1/3. So it's 2/3 of the power most of the time. But I would say it was around the complexity, not just the size, but the complexity of media. What and at the time in 1995, you know what that complexity was? It wasn't the internet yet, right?
Right.
Wasn't it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
cable. That was blowing people's minds.
yeah,
Right.
Complexity was same number of magazines, same number of newspapers, same number of
yeah,
radio stations, right? The complexity was pre-internet, was around cable. Crazy. It's crazy to think
yeah.
this way now.
It is.
Right. So, but to answer, so that's what it was. And back to your question, the complexity of the advertising ecosystem now, which is data led and
Yep.
tech enabled. Okay.
Mm,
70% of advertising spend goes through something that was data led and tech enabled. That means pipes. That means connections directly between buy sides and sell sides. It is automated. It is the word programmatic is usually the word that's associated with it. You
yeah.
can't go direct and make that happen. This isn't, you should buy the back cover of this issue of Vogue because it's spring fashion. So go buy, like, this isn't that. It is in the who, what, where, when, and why. It is hyper, it begins with the who. And we are really getting to understand the who. And we do that though in such an automated way that direct selling, to your question, DC,
Mm-hmm.
is really not the way these budgets are deployed anymore or tracked. So it's not just, oh, well,
Right.
just do that this way. No, no, it all has to fit into the beast that is now the analytics machine
Right.
that then spits out all of this in combination. So it's not like there's a lot of reasons why this business has changed so much and why now that's how you have to do it.
That's
So
good.
putting a capper on that, what you're saying, Tim, is that's a great explanation. If you were, like DC alluded to in his question, if you were to carve out something and say, like let's just go to I know the head of sales at Walmart. I'm just gonna, I'm brand X and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to them and just do it. Then all of a sudden you're messing everything up
Right.
because now you're taking that little piece out and everything else has been coordinated fully programmatically, everything else wise. And then not only you can not track it, but you don't understand how it fits into the whole because it's this outlier and it messes everything up. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, exactly. Deb Wallmeyer as CMO of I remember the first time I heard this when she was CMO of General Motors, said, you know what's key? It's got to plug in. It was such a
Bingo.
such a great symbol.
Right.
It doesn't plug in. Whatever your offering is,
Right.
it's not gonna, it can't be part of it.
That's
That's
awesome.
good. That's good. Larry?
Yeah, no, that's great. Guys, part of what, as we were learning this information, as we were learning this, and this is a while back now, this is this is a year and a half ago when we really dug into this. I was thinking about D, and I mentioned this to you, and Tim, I mentioned this to you as well. If I'm a brand and I can now, especially a CPG brand, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and let's just use Walmart, easy, right? So now all of a sudden, I am able to, and I'm just going to use my old brand, Powerade. So now I can do have a programmatic buy as
Mm-hmm.
part of what I do at Walmart, and now I can directly see first hand data as to who's buying Powerade, when they're doing it,
Yep.
demographics, psychographics, all the things that come with that for the purchase of Powerade. And by the way, I'm sure that they can do it for the competitors, for Gatorade and everybody else. And
Exactly.
so now I'm gleaning things that I can't get anywhere else because it's actual purchase data that we know is, in essence, I was gonna use the word foolproof. It's 99% foolproof, right? We know that there's that 1%. So when I heard about this, I was like, wow, this is incredible from a brand standpoint to understand that data. Can you guys, what are your thoughts about that?
Uh, DC, you want me to go?
Please.
Yes, it's not only who's buying it, but who's searching for it
Right.
and who are the people who might be the most likely to next search for it, right? So that's why we say top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. The signals are available across all different aspects of where people are in the consideration journey. And so that's why it's even more powerful. And media planning now, the connective tissue to media planning is this commerce data.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When we interviewed Dave Pensky, I was mentioning he's our second guest on the show. He said, we're building everything. We were talking about the vision, his future vision of their roadmap. Everything is around one word, he said, identity. That's the single word powering. I wish I knew how much money 65,000 people around the world are planning, buying, and analyzing. That's the single word,
Mm.
identity. And so this all feeds so much into that.
Oof.
So Tim
Dee,
and
what are your
Larry.
thoughts about the brand side of this and gleaning that information? Because that's where I went to immediately. Because any brand that could really get direct knowledge to be smarter, it's really hard to quantify that.
It is. I'm going to go back to these four words that you mentioned earlier, Tim, which I think came from this guest that you just mentioned, on your podcast, and that is data led, tech enabled.
Yeah.
So back in the day, Tim, you'll remember this, Larry, as will you, on the CPG side, and just about any other company, but I'm just going to use a CPG for example. Larry and I were at Coca-Cola. We had different sources of data. So one source was Nielsen. So this was actually cases moved, so you can track what was actually bought. But then we had another panel of data that was about consumers saying what they consumed.
Right.
So they would talk about, yes, I've had this many Coca-Colas in a given period. And there was always a delta between what was actually sold and what consumers claimed they consumed. And what we used to call this, Tim, and back at Coca-Cola, was virtual consumption. Virtual, that was the delta between what they actually consumed and what they said they consumed. And so what that brought to mind back then is, now we love consumers. We actually have, in our business, we have a seat, like an actual chair that we put up and say, that's the consumer in that chair. You got to listen to the consumer. But then also, to be a contrarian here, do you want to know how you want to know how you can tell if a consumer is lying? They're talking. Okay. This is why Steve Jobs did not listen to any research. So now we actually know, what people are actually doing, not just saying, because we've got this data. We've got this data. Because of the heft of the data, Tim, help the brand nerds understand how to parse it so that the data is actionable rather than overwhelming.
God, I wish I could answer that. I don't know if I could answer that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I was gonna say when you were first setting this question up is that the reason we have this precise versus these panels and credit card and shopping data is that people are logged in. 90% of people who shop at Kroger do so through a loyalty card because they get something out of it. So that's why I signed up for the loyalty card. We all get that. So then what does Kroger get? They get 90% of all purchases nailed to the person. Amazon, I mean, Amazon, come on. Amazon is like, so of the 65 billion, Amazon's like 40 of it. So, and Walmart's another 5. So like 2/3 of it. So today's marketers are so performance focused, but it's not just bottom of the funnel. So they have signals. They are getting data across different behaviors, which are the proxy for the person's mindset. And so they're able to tap into that and look at, by creative, what's driving what. So what needs to go and what needs to be doubled down. But there's different signals. So I can't tell you exactly how, but it happens when they get different signals for different behaviors, which are connoting where somebody is in their mind.
That's deep.
Say that one more time, please, Tim.
Yeah.
That's good.
So because we can be so precise based on what someone's behavior is, the marketer, the agency who's doing this for the marketer with the marketer, has the ability to track where people are. If they're in a search mode, they're exploring this. They're not actually buying it yet. Maybe they're searching for as Larry said before, a competitor's product. They're in a search mode, so they're exploring. If they've just had 3 kids, maybe it's time to sell them a minivan ad. Like, so where are they in their life cycle, and where they are, the signals about where they are, upper, middle, and lower funnel, are then being tracked by creative. A, B, and C, or A to Z now. With AI and creative, we can go down that rabbit hole if you want, but so it's getting much more and more precise. And I just have to say it, it's so cliche. Edit this part out if you want. But remember, John Wanamaker, that famous retailer who said, I know that 50% of my advertising works. I just don't know which 50%. He's has a smile on his face as he rolls over in the grave.
Right.
Yeah.
And look. I love I made most of my bones in the upper funnel, building brands and breaking through
Yeah.
gravity. If we do it at the top through gravity, it'll just fall
Right.
to the bottom of the funnel, right? And so I love that stuff. But today we just know more, and so we should be using it in the science. There's art that goes along, of
Yeah. Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
We're spending
Yeah.
this is much more of the science conversation that we're having here,
Yeah.
but it is the underpinning now. Because we used to last thing, and then I'll shut up. I mean, art was a little bit subjective. Maybe it was back to the panels. How do we know if that is landing, right? And so now there is more measurement and precision, even around not how to make the art necessarily, but what art is working and what isn't.
Oof. Deep.
Okay. Okay. You are sparking the synapses here, but Larry, were you going to say anything in response to that before I do?
You go ahead. I have
Okay.
a follow-up question after you.
Okay. The word precision keeps coming up in my mind and in your conversation. And going back to my question of what would we tell marketers given retail media networks and commerce media networks and the overwhelming amount of data and what we can now know, how do we help them parse it down to the data that's most actionable? Going back to the word precision, that's a P word. I've got 3 P's. The first P is personal. The second P is purchase. And the third P is predictive. So the degree to which marketers can have their teams, both internal and external, say to them, we can personally, at a personal level, track a purchase and predict what might happen next. That is powerful. That is powerful. And I'll go to an old story. Tim and Larry, I don't know whether this is true or not, but when the internet digital marketing was just beginning, there was a story that was going around in our industry, and it was around there's some gentleman. He's got a family. He's in a house. He's getting direct mail stuff for diapers. He doesn't have any small children. He keeps getting this stuff for diapers, and then it comes up that okay, his daughter was expecting and he didn't know it, but he found out because I don't know if that story is true or not, but this is that on steroids.
Right.
Great urban legend. Great urban legend.
Yeah.
So true. Go ahead, Larry. I was going to
No. So Tim, as we're talking about this, and this is what you really know, and we're talking about the monster numbers here and all the elements that we are bringing to the surface. So when it rubber meets the road, what are the media agencies and the planners and buyers, what are they thinking about this?
Well, it's become let me use Jack's exact line. It's the connective tissue of media planning today.
Wow.
Brand teams increasingly organize their strategy around commerce data. So it is becoming the backbone where you start. Back to Dave Penske's word identity. So there's less upper funnel down. It's more, we just know too much. Now, what are our KPIs? What do we want to track? And how are we going to drive them? Is not just that left-handed redheads don't buy minivans, but right-handed do. Good data, fine. Now I've hyper-targeted my audience a little bit further. That's a ridiculous example. I don't know why I thought of it.
No, it's good though. It
But a
makes
buddy of mine
the
that
point.
Larry knows used to say that. But okay, fine. Now what are we going to say to them that drives the behavior we want?
Right.
So we're getting better and better at the who, but there's still the what. What are we going to say? Where are we going to say it? Still does matter. Why does live sports is a simple example of the where. That's a attention metric as much as it is anything else, scale and attention. Um, but so there's still other elements. Still certainly work to be done by brands on the writer side of the brain. But the
Hmm.
foundations now, we have a much clearer picture with the help of data and technology.
Mm,
Really interesting.
it is. I want to switch this up a little bit. Larry, did you have anything else?
No.
I want to switch this up a little bit. We've spent quite a bit of time here talking about the media agencies, the clients, those that are running these media agencies, and those that are running these brands. I want to talk about talent here for a minute.
Mhm.
So when we were coming up, talent, if we use celebrity talent, they were what we would describe back then proper celebrities. So
Right.
actors or musicians or something like that. There were not people called influencers. These were not these were
It
not
wasn't a
real
thing.
things. Yeah, that was not a thing. So T-Mobile, anybody in the wireless space, but T-Mobile, they spend a lot of money, a lot of money. So they got a campaign out now, and it has two traditional stars, Zoe Saldana, who is of Avatar fame and even more fame, and then the legendary Jeff Bridges. They also got a dude in there named Drewski. Okay, so Drewski's an influencer, and
Very
Drewski's been a
true.
thing now for years. Drewski, brother. So you have Drewski, Jeff Bridges, and Joy Saldana in an ad. If I'm an influencer now, okay, I'm a Drewski, the next Drewski, like Kai Sinet, he's big. There are many influencers out here. Tim, what should these influencers be thinking now, given that we have retail media and commerce media? Because I guarantee you, most of them are not thinking about it at all, and it's going to impact them. It's going to
Yeah.
impact them.
Great question.
Very true. And we all have kids similar-ish ages enough to know
Yep.
you
Yep.
want to ask them, would they rather hear about an endorsement from George Clooney or from Mr. Beast? Who's
Right.
more
Oh,
authentic
oh,
in
Mr.
the
Beast.
moment?
Yeah.
And I love George Clooney, so it's not that. And so it's just amazing how it has shifted, right?
Mm-hmm.
I I am not close enough to the actual creators, and hopefully with this show we're doing, we will be needing to, and you guys probably also needing to lean
Mm-hmm.
into where the puck is going
Yeah.
and what the customers, what the customers want. I think as they get agents and as they get part of larger consortiums, they're going to have to understand. Look, they have from the beginning, from the first ad, which was, oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank now. What was uh, the first real creator ad that was just silly? It was the shaver, it was the razor ads, right? Remember the f first ones on YouTube?
Yeah.
What
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
what brand was that? God, we should know that off the top of our heads.
Uh,
We
uh,
can't
uh,
think of it.
Shave Club, something Shave Club,
Dollar Shave Club.
Dollar
Dollar
Shave
Shave
Club.
Club.
That
Yes,
was like one of the very first.
that's
And
a
they went
great point.
direct to the
Yes.
consumer on YouTube and made
Yep.
fun of the whole upper crust level of buying razors. And it was about performance. I mean, they were like, no, I'm good. So I think that these guys have a filter of performance in their
Mm,
mind. I really do because they're not about vanity. When they're working with brands, they mostly don't pick brands that they don't like. They
yep.
won't,
Right.
Yeah.
unless they're
Yep.
desperate, they won't do it. And that works for both sides, by the way, because the
Right.
authenticity is through. So it's a win-win. But a brand could approach somebody who's great just because they want association with somebody with a huge following, not knowing, or I think they do their homework on that now too. So, but anyway, so that whole thing works together. I think they understand it's about performance or die. And I guess my assumption is now, as they all have agents and they become more professional, that
Mm,
they have to, maybe they couldn't teach a class on retail and commerce media. It'd be fun to listen to them talk about it because they come at it from a different perspective, maybe say
mm,
it's simpler than we're doing. But I think that they have a performance mindset, they're authentic. They start with authenticity. They have a performance mindset, otherwise they won't get rehired. And I think they probably they're leaning in enough to understand some of this. That's my guess on the third point.
mm, mm.
And I'm guessing too they're also thinking about carving out anything that's video, understanding that it could go to so many places. And brand nerds, just so you understand, this is truly a different distribution point than, let's say, traditional streaming television and, of course, social media. This is something different. And so I think, Tim, you're right. I think they might not be well schooled enough in what commerce and retail media are specifically, but they probably understand as soon as I take when I do this with my video, when I'm doing a video, I know it could go in a lot of places. So I'm just going to try and carve out as much as I can as it relates to that. So I think that's what they're thinking. I got it. Could I swing this another direction? Consumer. We haven't talked about the consumer.
And I want to talk about the media companies too, not the agencies. Let's do consumer first, but then I want to talk about the media companies who are in the media business. What do they have to do about this? Go ahead.
That's great. That's great. Do you want to hit that first or
No,
consumer?
no, go.
So consumer, we talk about precision. Consumers know that when they surf something on social media or they do a Google search or whatever, and then all of a sudden the ads are popping up for things, like, people get that. There's a creepy element to it, and then there's a good element to it, right? And I think consumers have almost the angel and the devil on their shoulder because they, as it relates to their understanding of that. And then we've talked about this a lot. I'm in Walmart. I've got my two kids here with me, my two young kids. I'm balancing all these things, and I got to pick up another kid at gymnastics practice, and there's somebody in front of me that's checking out, and all of a sudden they're watching an ad, and I'm looking, what the hell? I got to get going, right? Like, and then all of a sudden when they're checking out, they're seeing an ad. So there's an element of this that there's an optimal element, and then there's a bad element to this. Tim, can you talk a little bit about the interfacing and how that's working, and what the Walmarts and Amazons and United Airlines, again, Commerce Media Network, that's different. They have you watching a TV, so that's different. But when you're checking out of a checkout line, it's much different than watching a video in United Airlines network. So what are your guys' thoughts about it, the consumer side of this?
D, you want to go first?
No, you go, please, Tim.
Quick story. Last time I guest lectured at a college, and I was talking about how the world's changing. And so I said, how am I going to open this in a Tony Robbins-like way that gets everyone thinking, as opposed to just going to page one? And so I said, okay, I got a question for everybody. Of course, they're all 18 to 24. How many of you in the last 24 hours raise your hand, experienced an ad, and you thought to yourself, why am I getting that ad? That's not relevant to me. They all raised their hand.
Right.
Yeah.
And me and the 50-plus-year-old teacher said, see, we don't think that way. If I'm watching daytime TV, I get a FemCare ad, I understand. I'm not in the mind to buy a car. I don't eat fast food, but that's what I'm going to see when I'm watching sports. So I love, Larry, your angel and devil on the shoulder, because if it's not relevant, there's two things. One, it's a waste of money. Two is they think differently about the company. That's a dumb company. Don't they know either I just bought it, I just bought the product, or don't they know I don't like it? I even think less of them. So it's like, it's amazing. It's just amazing how it's all is changing, but they've come to expect that if it's not relevant, they're even more, they'll take that over giving me the same ad 20 times.
Interesting.
We know in the insurance category where everything is humorous, because I have to hit you over the head 400 times in order for you to make unstick that sticky purchase.
Right.
Like, that's not just switching candy bars. So part of that strategy is it's got to be frequency, or there's no way I'm going to do it. The only way I'm going to hit you over the head that many times is if I'm funny. I can't be serious. I will turn off the world. But so all that stuff's in that mix. But I think they expect the precision now, and it's just interesting.
Love that story.
Larry, I'm glad you swung it to the consumer. I kind of feel bad for consumers. And I say that because we're mostly captive now.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to have quiet time. And I think about my phone. I probably get, I don't know, 30 to 50 calls a day. And I know they're trying to sell me something. So what I've learned to do is ignore them. And I have found strategies to more quickly ignore the calls. With commerce and, retail and commerce media, I find myself applying skills to ignore the messages. And it takes a lot to actually get me to dial in now. So back to your word of precision, unless it's exactly what I'm looking for at exactly the time I'm looking for it or thinking about it, I'm simply not paying attention. So I wonder what consumers are doing to filter the messages.
Well, there is that battle between relevance and avoidance because I don't want ads in general, right?
Yeah,
Right.
We grew up with you. He didn't have a choice.
yeah,
Okay, fine. Now you have a choice. You're getting less and less of a choice as everything that was
Yes.
subscription is now ad supported. And
yeah,
the difference in the price is too much for you, and there's too many. You can't get them all you can't pay premium for all of them. So
yeah,
the ads are coming back, but they come in with a bias against ads where we didn't, right? So
yeah.
that is certainly interesting. When you're saying that, Dee, it reminds me, and maybe you guys talking to your brand clients have heard this more, but like among the hallmarks of planning, wasn't it like that 3+ frequency or the 2+? It was
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
a pretty low number.
85% at 3+,
Right.
85 reach
Three
at 3+
plus.
frequency. Yes.
You don't hear about that 3+ anymore. That ain't going to get it done.
No.
Your point. That
No,
ain't going to get it done.
no,
Mm-mm.
Can
no.
you imagine that? Can you imagine the frequency in the insurance category? I know that's a hyper example, but just to
Right.
your point about looking for ways to avoid, et cetera, blah, blah, and
Yeah.
me saying they come in not wanting it, the 3+ is gone the way of the buggy whip.
It has. So, Tim, you want to go to the media companies that you were?
Well, just not as deep of a point. I love this conversation about the consumer too, but I was just going to say that if the media companies don't start to have a lens around performance of their properties for brands, then they risk becoming obsolete themselves because I'm going to find a way to get the things I need, let's call it right brain, with the things that drive performance. And that is just now a part of the reality of everything. New currencies. It's not just about Nielsen anymore. New ways to track upper funnel work, upper funnel progress. But it's amazing that everyone has to be in this mindset. Even the most storied companies, media companies who made content. I make great shows on Thursdays, not because it's the number one night of watching television. It's number three. More people watch TV on Sunday, more people watch TV on Wednesday. Thursdays is third, but it leads the weekend where the highest paying categories are cars and movies. They pay more money and they want to, so like all those days of quality programming in the right moment, it's just it's so blown up that we have to continue to be curious and stay on our toes, or otherwise we will become obsolete as well, boys.
Oh, great point.
Okay, let's talk about the art part of that. So that's the science
Yeah.
part of it. These media companies, they got to make these draconian decisions. But let's talk about the art side. I'm concerned, Tim and Larry. I'm concerned that because of data and because of retail and now commerce media, that there won't be patience on the part of the content creators and the media companies to allow a show to quote unquote find its audience.
Yeah.
I just wonder if now the ripcord will get pulled quickly if a piece of content doesn't quote unquote perform well, and or even if an audience is found, if it starts to dwindle, 1.2% on a Thursday, is it like we're yanking it off Thursday? Like I'll give you an example. My favorite show like a series ever,
Mhm.
Breaking Bad.
Right.
This is my favorite show. I didn't discover Breaking Bad until like season 3 or 4. A friend of mine was telling me, his name is Derek Dudley. He kept telling me, "Hey, have you seen?" Every time we'd go to, have you seen? So I was flying to LA from Atlanta once, and he said, "Hey, man, on your flight, just watch one. One. I spent the entire flight watching every single thing I could. I was looking at it on the ground in between meetings. I wouldn't go out. I just voraciously consumed it, but I was late in the action. And I'm just concerned that there won't be great art given a chance to find its sea legs, if you will."
Uh, Listen, that's outside of commerce and retail media, but you're bringing something really up. Like, you know, there's been you guys know what happened with the show Suits that was originally a USA, and
Oh,
Tim, I
yeah,
know you
yeah,
know this,
yeah.
and it was on USA, and it did fine. It didn't do great, but it did fine. And then all of a sudden, the I think the series ended in the late 20 teens, right, Tim? Something like that. And they put it on Netflix a couple of years ago, and it blowed up.
Yeah.
And my wife Sherry and I were complete. We never watched one episode when it was on USA, but it was on Netflix, and we watched it all through. And yeah, that's definitely something that's really interesting.
Well, Reed Hastings and Ted Sarandos, about 15 years, maybe 20, made a bet that everything would go on demand anyway, so the consumer could choose when they wanted to watch it. So
Yeah.
I think that that point that you're making, Larry, would only be a DC would only be is if I don't order season two, because season one is
Right,
going to be up there forever, and
right.
so
Ah,
it's
good point.
just it's I mean it's just crazy that that is also just I used the West Wing or the Thursday night example just to make the point about the olden times, but now it's just everything is on demand. I watch it when I want to, where I want to.
Yep.
Don't tell me. I mean, I got punished. I missed the last episode of Mary Tyler Moore ever because I did
Mm,
something that day that pissed off a parent and I missed it. And that was my favorite show. I mean, that was an incredible
Yep.
back. I'm showing my age here, but like, when am I going to watch it again? Some week in July, maybe.
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Period, paragraph. I mean,
yeah.
it is just different.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff, guys. All right. Um, Anything else that we feel like we didn't cover from, consumer media companies? Anything else that we want to cover before we hit the end here, guys?
I got one, but do you have one, Tim?
No, I don't. I don't think so. It's
All
been
right.
fun, as
We've
usual.
mentioned Amazon. We've mentioned
Yeah.
Walmart. I think we also mentioned Kroger. These are the big people.
Yeah.
How can retail and commerce media benefit the small, medium-sized businesses? Why should they be into this?
Well, so here's what I think is going to happen. At the next level of growth. So I mentioned that those two first ones, Amazon and Walmart, are in the 40 billions of the 67.
Mhm.
So they're basically like the old school networks. It's like they got,
At the
the
big two. Yeah, exactly.
big two.
And then there's between Target, Kroger, Albertsons,
Mhm.
Home Depot. There's a bunch of other retailers, Lowe's. There's maybe 10 that make up 80% of this.
Okay.
And then there's the regional grocery chains and other small outlets. And that's all happening. What what I think is an opportunity in the near future is the more niche retailers,
Mm,
fashion, health,
Mhm.
probably categories I can't think of right off the top of my head. But I think,
Local merchants, just like the nail salon and people like that, right?
yeah, I think some of that too, that these niche offerings are another um, It's an extension of what we have, but it's complementary.
Right.
So to me, that I think is a possible expansion of this area is in the niche stores.
Right.
Got it. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you.
D, that was my only question left too. Tim, is there
Oh,
anything
so,
else you want to
okay.
cover? Think what do you think?
No, I mean, I don't, not that I can think of. It's always fun talking with you guys, and I'm glad we got deeper down into some stuff, and I hope everyone out there felt it was was useful for in their time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Larry, I do have one more question of Tim. I'm sorry.
This
Uh,
pregnant pause is so obvious, but go ahead.
no, 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 no. That's not right. I'm gonna go
I know you know.
Kornheiser. I'm gonna go Kornheiser and say we're gonna get you out of here on this.
Okay.
For companies who want to get into this space and don't have the internal capability to do so,
Hmm.
to do so, what kind of resource should they be looking for to help them actually build it,
Right.
stand it up, and then at some point run it on their own? What do they need? What questions do they need to ask? What kind of experience do they need to be seeking?
Right. I think that the E word, experience, I was going to say expertise. I think you want to combine, you probably don't want to buy something in this space. So now you got build or borrow. And I
Right.
think you want a combination to start a build and borrow. So I think you want to work with someone who's done it before to
Mm-hmm.
get you ready.
Right.
If
Mm,
it's not the same as something else. It is different. And the ecosystem that we've been talking about, data-led, tech-enabled, is incredibly busy. No one has
mm,
any time for mistakes. On
Mm.
the customer side, you
mm,
build the wrong thing and you get the meeting and you missed it, you got like one shot. So I think
yeah.
you have to do a combination of build and borrow, which is you got to borrow expertise to help you walk into this because it doesn't really have a lot of room for mistakes if
Right.
you don't have them captive. You can make a mistake if you have them captive and they need you for something else. If you're doing this on your own and you don't have the money, the 67 billion, if you don't have any leverage against the money, you just want to lean into that TAM, you better be ready when you do it.
Yep.
Got it.
That's
Understood.
awesome. So, guys, just before we close off here, I think it would be great if we posit one or two quick things that we want to highlight. And if you want, I'll just go first. And uh, there's a few things that were said, nothing smart by me, but by my two cohorts here. And Tim said, brand nerds, when you're thinking about this, this is about precision and scale, which again, you usually have to choose one, precision and scale. And DC said that precision really equals personal, purchase, and predictive, those three P's that can really take what precision is and make it personal and what's the purchase behavior and how it's predictive going forward. And then Tim also alluded to, I love this, and I don't remember who he was quoting, but he said, this is all about being data led and tech enabled. So those are the three things that surface for me in a big way.
I'll go next. I've just got one: smarter, integrated, full funnel decisions.
That's great.
That's it.
You guys take better notes during these than I do, more practice, I think. Um, I would say, I mean, it's funny because we reference our expertise and our backgrounds and our years in something that's a lot different. Some of the fundamentals are the same, but is the ingredients now are getting much different. I think my biggest takeaway is just that if you're not curious and restless, there's just no way. You have to be incredibly curious
Right.
and restless. And I don't know how much time away from your job and the learning, some of it's the learning on the job, but there's just no way without constant learning and reading from the people who are ahead on things. There's no other way to keep up with marketing today.
Love that. That's a great mic drop. Brand nerds, that's the end here, and we are at the outro here. Thanks for listening to Brands, Beats, and Bytes. The executive producers of Brands, Beats, and Bytes are Jeff Shirley, Daryl D.C. Cobbin, Larry Taman, Jay Tate, and Tom Dioro.
The Podfather.
That is he. And if you do like this podcast, please subscribe and share. And for those on Apple Podcasts, if you are so inclined, we love those excellent reviews. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we look forward to next time, where we will have more insightful and enlightening talk about marketing.